All right. Today on the show, I have a podcast that's been a little while in the making, one that I'm super excited about, but I'm joined by Dr. Cody Creelman. Dr. Creelman, for those that are unaware, is the CEO of Fen Vet, which is striving to reimagine veterinary care for the betterment of patients, clients, and the veterinary team. They focus on improving animal wellness, providing better veterinary care in the experience, and continuing to challenge the traditional animal care paradigms. He's an entrepreneur, a thinker, lots of different topics that we're going to cover, both inside and outside of veterinary medicine. Cody, thank you so much and welcome.
No, thank you.
So I wanted to poll just listeners of the show and say like, hey, I'm going to talk to Dr. Cody Creelman. What kind of questions you have? And I'm not sure if they know you or not, or if there's a connection here, but the first and definitely most important question was they want to know when they should expect you to grow back the full beard. And I say that because I just shaved after 4 years of a full beard as well, and so I was like, I have to ask that question. So the people are demanding an answer.
Okay, well, probably not until I do a sabbatical. The beard was grown during a gap where I took some time and where I actually created Fen. So Fen grew with the beard. And then once we were launching, I decided to go with the permanent 5 o'clock shadow. So I think the real answer will be the beard will come back in 6 years. So I have a dream that in 6 years that my family and I are going to take 6 months off, and we're going to hike the AT, the Appalachia Trail, as a family. So then my kids will be 16, 14, and 10.
I love it. That's awesome. It's a great answer. I was like, I don't know where he'll take this, but I'm glad I got a laugh, and it's cool to understand that. Love the idea of it growing with the business. I shaved when I exited my last business, and that was kind of like this changing of a season personally. So I get it.
So there's even a little bit more nuance if we're going to talk about my facial hair. So I had grown it out until I filmed my TV show. So on Discovery Plus, there's a TV show called Pop My Pet. So we made it exactly one episode and never got past the pilot. But it was a debate amongst the production team. Do I keep the beard for the show or do I shave? And if I shave, is it clean shaven or is it, because they need continuity, right? So they said, no, keep the permanent 5 o'clock shadow. And then we never have to worry about that continuity. So I did what the Hollywood producers told me to do. The show never got picked up by Discovery Plus, and the rest is history.
Yeah, love it. Makes sense. You never know. It's like, hey, if I would have kept the beard, we definitely are getting picked up. That was the hook, right?
That's right.
But on a little bit more serious note, you had an Instagram post that caught my attention, and I would love for you to expand on it if you want to. And you mentioned that there's no veterinary shortage; there's a leadership shortage in veterinary medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's definitely no veterinarian shortage as you can quantify it. And there definitely is a veterinary leadership shortage. So let's talk about the first one first, because I love screaming it from the rooftops. There is no vet shortage, full stop, period. We have a massive veterinarian oversupply. And I don't know why the world thinks that it's the opposite. There certainly is difficulty finding veterinarians to work in Sheridan, Wyoming, or Shelby, Montana. But if you actually looked at population distribution across the US or population distribution across Canada, you would find that 90% of the people live in, the top 30 cities. So why would you not expect the same distribution for veterinarians? And it's hard to find a vet to go to a small town of 3,000 people, but like that town probably doesn't statistically make sense in terms of distribution of veterinarians. If 90% of the people want to live in these 30 cities, then why wouldn't 90% of the vets? So we have a massive vet oversupply. And there's a reason that I'm saying that of what I see is certainly there is an efficiency issue within our profession. There's no question that if the veterinarians that are currently in practice were properly optimized, given appropriate support teams, and given the appropriate tools to be able to get through their day, they would be able to do 200, 300, 400% more high quality cases if you actually supported them appropriately. That comes down to leadership, right? So where are all the vet leaders? Where did they all go? And, my thesis, I didn't really crystallize it till I was asked by Dr. Scott Spalding, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Scott. Have you ever heard of Mavana before?
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, so Mavana was a really amazing story. So they were a mixed animal consolidator that was started by Dr. Scott. Dr. Scott had this dream that one day his shares would be, at his practice, he had a practice called Badger Vet, that his shares would be worth $1 million. What a great, audacious dream he had, right? That what could he do within this singular practice to increase the value of his practice so his share value was worth $1 million? That's how he started out. And he decided, well, probably the best way was to consolidate a few practices together, bring some veterinarians into the partnership unit and to grow this through scale. And he had a fantastic success in being able to do this. He was able to consolidate some massive equine hospitals, one of the largest in the U.S. He was able to roll up a whole bunch of different clinics. He was able to fundraise and then eventually sold it. He had a great exit, which hurts my heart. And Scott is a great friend of mine, and he is one of the greatest veterinary minds, business minds I've ever come across. But I feel like he left the leadership role too early. He left the profession too early because we need people like Scott Spalding, right? And he didn't even want to sell. Like, he had a group of partners, he had a board, he had investors. Like, when given this opportunity to make this grand exit, he was essentially forced to do it. And now he's not leading hundreds of veterinarians anymore, and somebody like that should be. Or I think about my friend, Dr. Dan Markwalder. He built up 18 practices in the greater Chicago area and was acquired by MVP. And while he is still in a, in quote, leadership role as the chief veterinary officer, it's not to the same capacity as being, this great entrepreneurial, innovative veterinarian leading, hundreds of veterinary professionals in the Chicagoland area. We need more Dr. Dans. We need more Dr. Scotts. If we had that, we would have more optimization and more efficiencies, and we would make the veterinary supply go a lot further. So I'm really worried because not only do I think we have a veterinary oversupply right now, we really are going to have a veterinarian oversupply when we start graduating all the new graduates that are coming out of all of the new vet schools. There's a massive amount of new vet schools and a massive amount of veterinarians coming to market. What we're also going to see is we're going to see consolidators consolidating practices, right? December of 2022, the financial world hit a wall. And all of the money that was pouring in to these venture capital backed practice groups stopped flowing, right? So what do they have to do? They have to run their businesses like businesses. They have to optimize. What does that mean? That means they have to close down some underperformers, right? If you can't hire veterinarians into your practices, you're going to have to close them down. Consolidators don't buy practices. They buy market share. So they're not going to just resell an underperforming vet clinic to a young veterinary professional to keep that practice going. They're going to close it because they bought market share. They're going to hope that some of those clients are going to go to their other clinics. They're going to consolidate the staff. They're going to close practices. And then we have the boomers, right? We have all of those veterinarians across the US and Canada who are 65 years old, who operate 1 and 2 doctor practices, who are actually the majority of veterinary clinics. Maybe not by revenues, right? But there's a lot of 1 and 2 doctor practices across the US owned by 65-year-old veterinarians that are, what's the retirement plan? There's nobody left to buy them, right? The consolidators were never interested in those clinics. And now we have a generation of veterinarians who aren't as keen to become entrepreneurs because practice owners haven't been talking into their ears since, they graduated vet school. And now you're going to have a lot of those practices literally just close their doors. So not only are you going to have an increase in veterinarians, you're going to have a decrease in practices for them to work, and you're going to have optimization and efficiencies across the board where veterinarians that do exist within practice are going to be even better. Like I think about the advances I've seen in the last 2 years in terms of medical record efficiencies. It's bananas. We have AI integrated medical record software now. My veterinarians are rocking ChatGPT. They are, their medical record efficiency is skyrocketing. So that allows them to see more cases throughout the day. So it's very, very layered, in terms of my comments, but I don't just like flippantly say that there's a leadership shortage or there's a veterinarian shortage. There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of things that are happening that would indicate we're heading that way. So I guess to throw to you, so what does that mean, right? On a greater economic scale, what does that mean to have an oversupply of something in basic, in basic microeconomics? The price goes up, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the thought is that, the wage growth or what people think they're going to make is just not going to be there. And so the competition all of a sudden is going to be completely different. And I think that's an interesting angle. And I was thinking in my mind and laughing a little bit like, man, I prepared way too many questions because I had like 4 things that you said there. I'm like, oh, we could just talk about that the rest of the time. But ultimately and I've talked about this before, like when younger veterinarians were ghosting or, kind of playing games because there was so much demand for their, skill set just to fill a body at a hospital, that is going to come back and bite a lot of people if what you're saying is correct. And all of a sudden you're going to have to scrap and fight to get positions. People remember that. And that's something that I think needs to be at the forefront of the mind is like how you treat people. This isn't a massive industry. And a lot of people are going to talk and people, names on the business card may change, but the people are all kind of, are going to go different positions in different places, but they're not necessarily leaving a lot of times, especially those that are maybe in those hiring roles or within some of the leadership at these different companies. One of the things I want to ask, so talk about efficiency and you talked about support teams. One of the questions I've gotten from folks that listen to the podcast is what is the ideal kind of setup for a support team? So I didn't know if you wanted to kind of share what your thoughts are. I know it's going to be nuanced. I know it depends, but in your minds, as you've seen and what you've built out with Fen Vet, what do you think is the optimal setup for a veterinarian with a support team to be as efficient as possible?
For sure. Before we jump into that, I just wanted to point out this kind of leading indicator that I think people should watch, and that's the relief veterinarian market, because I feel like they are the first ones that are going to show us that these predictions are right. You can imagine what the relief market is going to do. We saw when 2 years ago, you could hire a relief veterinarian for $75 an hour. Then it went to 85, and then it went to 95, and then 105, and then 120 and 140, all within the same geography. So like massive, massive inflation in relief veterinarian availability and wage. So we then had to if I needed one shift covered, I would have to send out an email to 5 or 6 relief vets just to get one shift covered in a month. They were all stacked full. They were busy. Now, guess what's happening? The relief vets are calling me. The relief vets are sending me emails trying to pick up shifts. The whole thing is dried up. So what does that mean for me? That means I get to now dictate pricing, right? I can say I have a shift on December 16th at $65 an hour, take it or leave it. Because now there's 12 of them that are looking for any sort of shift coverage. You also have things that happen like NVA laying off all their 1099s, right? All their relief veterinarians, all their contract veterinarians. Those veterinarians are then going to seek the security of a salary. So they're going to enter into as associate veterinarians, and there's going to be a glut of those. So you're going to be able to hire them for cheaper as well. Like, I'll be shocked in a year or two if you can't hire veterinarians in good areas for $75,000. It sounds wild right now, but I think it's going to happen. Anyways, to efficiency. It is so incredibly veterinary dependent, right? The one thing that we sell in this business is units of veterinarian time. And I know that can be debated, but it is true. There is no question. There's only one unit of thing that we sell, units of veterinarian time. So you have to always keep that in the back of your mind. Each veterinarian is going to operate differently. Some veterinarians are going to be higher producing, so more efficient with those minutes. Some veterinarians are going to need a little bit more support. But what I think is a very realistic expectation. So at the very least at Fen Vet, the veterinarians, if they're on medical appointments, they have their own technologist and their own technologist assistant, full stop. Okay. If they're on surgery, at the very minimum, they have one technologist in the surgical suite with them, one technologist prepping patients, and one technical assistant helping out in the middle. We're working on a project right now that I'm calling Project Border Collie, where I'm building essentially what I think is going to be an optimized support team around a specific veterinarian. Now, this veterinarian is tuned for something like this. So what that's going to look like is 2 technologists and 2 TAs built around them taking 2 columns of appointments that are staggered a half an hour and 15 minutes apart. So you have one appointment starting, say, at 5 o'clock, the next appointment starting at 5:15, the first appointment finishing at 5:30, and you go on and on, staggering with running 2 medical teams. There's no question in today's day and age with, like AI integrated medical software, that there's no reason why a veterinarian shouldn't be walking out of an exam room, getting grabbed by the collar by a TA, walking and rounding to the next exam room, walking in, and a technologist standing there already starting the appointment. The veterinarian assesses what they need to assess. They make their diagnosis and their prescription, and they walk out the door, and they get grabbed by the collar again, and they walk directly into another exam room. There's no need for them to be doing medical records. There's no need for them to be doing client communication. There's only 3 things that a vet should be doing: prescribing, right, diagnosing, and doing surgery. Everything else can be designated to another team member. So there's other layers of that, right? So I think you need a phone team of 3, in a standard clinic. I think you need 2 client care coordinators that aren't answering phones, that are helping people with that customer journey. But in terms of that technical team, I think that, at the very least, our profession should be striving for 1 tech and 1 TA per veterinarian, with the ability to go to 2. But there's no reason that with the right veterinarian, you couldn't have a team of 8, a team of 10, a team of 14 surrounding a single veterinarian.
Interesting. Thank you for that. Another thought, technology inherently brings efficiency. And so efficiency should drive down costs, right? Do we agree on that? You feel like technology? Yep. Do you think this idea of veterinary care becoming more affordable happens with the efficiency of the tools? And if not, why? Because I don't think costs will really go down. We can get into a whole other rabbit hole on why, but I just wanted to kind of pose that to you. With bringing in more efficiency, having these tools there, it seems like the cost should come down. But I would say I don't think they will.
So I think they will.
Okay. Why so?
Yeah, for those reasons. I fully expect, if you can imagine a world that will exist in practices that are embracing the change that's happening, if you can imagine a world where ambient medical record keeping is happening in real time, where a veterinarian is just literally walking from appointment to appointment, and the software is creating and generating that medical record just based off of that natural conversation that's happening. It's doing the billing, it's making estimates, it's booking rechecks. That's literally 12 months away. Because what I'm seeing is like we're 80% of the way here. We're beta testing some amazing products in the practice management software that we're utilizing, and it's bananas how good it is. And we know what they're striving to do. So of course that's going to happen, that we're going to have a deflation of veterinary prices in these practices that are able to, like, all I want as a practice owner is 20%. Give me 20% profitability and I'll be the happiest guy in the world. I don't care what my prices are, right? As long as that I'm doing that. So there's no reason why I wouldn't be able to utilize efficiency and technologies and see my vaccine prices literally plummet.
I would say I agree with you. It should. I think the reason it won't is bigger than it has nothing to do with the technology within vet med. I think it's structurally from the way that our both economies in Canada and in the United States, right? We live in a inflationary monetary policy where we create more of these units. And so it pushes up prices, right? Because ultimately you're going to bring in efficiencies, but there's going to be additional costs that will follow from other places.
Unless it's
in my opinion,
shift, right? Unless it's
what we've seen
that is so incredibly fundamentally shifting, which I believe that if we solve medical records, we're going to be laughing. If you think of the future of integrated Neuralink in a veterinarian with instant access and recall to the entire body of veterinarian literature and the newest science. And think of how much faster we would be able to go because of that. It will decrease. There's definitely some supply issues, right? Like, okay, are the pharma companies going to drop my vaccine price? Is there going to be some sort of disruptor in that? Is there going to be some some biologics manufacturer that is also thinking the same lines that we're thinking, that is somehow able to fundamentally drop those costs? I'm seeing it in different areas, right? Like the ability for me to go out and find, this was really hard to do, but in Canada, we found a vendor for us to be able to access wellness panels at a significantly reduced rate because they're embracing innovation. So now I have the ability to send out wellness panels for probably 25% of what the typical standard cost is in Canada. I have a wellness panel at my vet clinic that costs only 25% of what it would cost me to run it in-house.
That's awesome.
That's amazing, right? That's like, what if that goes even further, right? What if somebody comes out with some sort of in-house analytics that completely disrupts what IDEXX is doing, right? That's possible, is it not? Like, how could it not be possible? So there is a lot of things. And then you add on like, and then what if I'm hiring veterinarians for $75,000 again? Sounds like I'm cutting my prices. I want to cut my prices.
Yeah. Well, and you in the way that you run your business is going to be different. But I think I use the idea of like Starbucks, right? Like Starbucks can raise their prices. And then let's say they get more efficient, and they obsess on like 5 seconds when they make a drink because they know how important that is across their business unit of how they train and how they do things. They don't then go back and provide those savings back to the individual. They don't cut those prices again. And I'm not necessarily saying you won't. I'm saying as a whole within veterinary medicine, I don't think we will see costs come down.
Right. But fundamentally, what is Starbucks as a business, right? It's a publicly traded. The second that you are venture capital backed, or if you're publicly traded, your entire mission becomes returns to shareholders.
Sure.
Maximize returns to shareholders, right? I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
I'm the only shareholder.
Yeah, there's truth to that. And I, yeah, no, I agree with that.
So do
I
I?
think on aggregate though, with the push of consolidation and, where things have gone on aggregate, I don't think it'll bring down costs. That's my my take on it. But
Yes. No,
you're a lot closer to it. You're a lot closer to it, right, than I am. So take
well,
that
and
with
I
a
have
grain.
I have a vested interest in hoping that the consolidators don't innovate and they continue on, and they do have exorbitant. Even now, to compare my prices to the consolidators is absolutely spectacular. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're so low cost in comparison, and we're scratching our heads looking at some of these like invoices that are brought in by new patient, new client, and I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? Like, we're so cheap in comparison. There's some spectacular things. Like, how is it possible in this day and age with the efficiencies that we have that a cat neuter is $600? I don't get it. I can't even compute that high. So maybe they will continue on, and maybe there will be 100 Fen Vets one day, and we'll just keep doing our thing.
Yeah, because at that point, and it kind of leads into another post that you had that I really liked. At that, with the market, it's going to then push those prices in a way where if the competition is there and it's bringing the prices down, they'll have to adjust their prices. The $600 it doesn't last, right? So you made a post that was, some veterinary brands are built to sell, some are built to do veterinary medicine, and I think that like sums up a lot of what you just shared. But is there anything there that you feel like you haven't touched on yet? Because I thought that was really,
No,
really
it's
great.
just, I think, just like a frustration that I have, that I've realized over the last little while, is because I'm not selling, because I'm not looking for, because I don't want NVA to buy me. They've tried. I don't want them to buy me. Told them to go away, right? Is that gives me a freedom to actually speak my mind. And what I feel is that I don't have unique thoughts. What's unique is that, like, I have no restrictions in just saying what I'm thinking. I wish the industry was more transparent, and that, these thought leaders were having real conversations, because in public, right? Because I have the real conversations with people in private. And then I go and listen to, the ecosystem that exists out there in the public. And I'm like, nobody's saying what they actually think. And if my end game was to build 13 Fen Vets and hope that a VCA was going to buy me, then I would keep my lips really tight, right? Because I
Sure.
wouldn't want to piss anybody off. But I don't care, because, like, I'm super happy doing what we're doing. So I wish there was just more real talk within the industry, because I think it's necessary, right? I think we need to have transparent and open public conversations. That's why I said yes to this, right? Because I
Totally.
feel like there's so much that can be done within our profession, and it's not going to come from the top down. It's going to be grassroots, right? It's going to be us that are dreaming and doing, and that's where the fun is, and that's where the longevity is, and that's where the support is. Like, just think about culture. Is culture really going to come from the AVMA, most recent article on culture, or is it
No.
going to have is it going to come from loudmouth practice owners saying, hey, everybody else, your culture's super shit. Why don't you do something about it?
Yeah. And I had a question from some listeners that wanted to ask about, cultural aspects of Fen Vet, your expectations you set with your team. Is that part of what you're, providing them up front? How's that evolved? And they had mentioned, like, you see like a veg that obviously has their style of doing something, and, how you've built that out or how you've thought about it.
If you can improve the health of an animal, you do it, right? Of course. That's what makes veterinarians special. You're mission driven. My friends at LifeLearn are the exact same way. For over 25 years, they've been partnering with you and your peers, providing affordable, customizable, online software solutions. These solutions save time, increase efficiency, and assist in managing all aspects of operations. Why? They want to help you improve your partnership with pet owners to improve pet health. LifeLearn has award-winning digital media solutions and are leading the pack as they've prioritized having extensive veterinary knowledge throughout their teams. That difference is seen, it's heard, and it's read by thousands of people across the country. Relax, grow, and thrive with LifeLearn. Click the link in the show notes for an exclusive offer to see how LifeLearn can allow you to get back to what you do best.
Yeah, for sure. So culture all came back to when I was setting up Fen Vet. So, our mission is to reimagine the vet care experience. And what I mean by that is that I want to provide a platform for us to continually reimagine veterinary care together. You don't just reimagine it once and then you're done. You need a place where you can continually improve upon. And why do I want to improve upon it? Because I think there's going to be a paradigm shift. And do I want to be, standing there holding my scalpel and stethoscope and doing what everybody else is doing? Or do I want to be part of what the next version of what we do is? Why? Because it's an inevitability, right? Because it happens in every business. So I'm trying to be as proactive as possible to be on the other side of that shift. So in that, I wanted to provide a backbone. I wanted to provide a skeleton for reimagination to exist. So think of it as a test kitchen, a mad scientist laboratory, or Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, right? Like this place that now we can reimagine what we do together. But I needed a strategy to be able to do that, right? And I had read this beautiful book, The Blue Ocean Strategy. I don't know if you've ever thumbed through its pages before, but essentially what it was discussing was in any business, one of the best ways that you can operate is to find a space where nobody else is competing. That's the blue ocean. The red ocean is where the sharks live, right? There's blood in the water. My favorite example of that, I always think of like a discount liquor store. Like that's a red ocean business. It's a race to the bottom. It's thin margins. It's, you can't even afford a janitor to mop the floor. And that's why it's always dirty. Like that's one, that's one type of business and that's in a red ocean. But if you can find that blue ocean where nobody else is competing, things should be pretty easy. Mm-hmm. So there was an exercise there where you actually just listed out everything your business sector does, right? So I did it for veterinary medicine. You just make an XY axis. On that X axis, you just list out everything a veterinary clinic does. And then on the Y axis, you just rank it do you do it really well or do it very poor as an industry average, right? So I did small animal medicine. I wrote medicine. I ranked it super high. I think that our medicine's great across the industry. Like, yeah, there's some bad actors, but like, this is what we went to school to do. We give us some tools, give us a team, and we can go be great veterinary professionals. I ranked surgery super high too, right? So if I was going to make a business, I wasn't going to go out and compete and say, we've got the best medicine in the world. That would be a red ocean. That would be really hard to do, right? There's some killer vet clinics out there doing really great medicine. Same thing with surgery. So then I wrote down cost and I ranked it kind of middle. I think there's some clinics that are charging a lot and some that aren't charging enough. And I wrote out dog food sales and I wrote out boarding and I wrote out grooming and everything a vet clinic does. And then I wrote the word customer experience and I ranked it super low. And right beside it, I wrote culture and I ranked that super low. And I just circled those two things. And I was like, I guess there's our business, right? That's the backbone. We're reimagining the vet care experience based off of exceptional 7-star customer experience and amazing practice culture. So that's where the culture part came from. And I wanted to clarify that because that's how core it is to what we do. That if a question is presented to us where it does not enhance customer experience or enhance our culture, we don't do it, right? So it's the litmus test against everything that we do. And what I told the team when we first started is that I would do whatever it took at all, whatever cost it took to make sure that we're fostering great practice culture. And one of the promises I made is if somebody had to go, then somebody has to go, right? That I had seen too many practices allowing too many toxic individuals be part of the team, and people would just not make the hard decision. Hiring people or firing people sucks, right? Nobody likes firing people. But it is endemic across the industry that you have a high producing veterinarian who's a good producing veterinarian who's an absolute asshole that nobody ever makes leave the practice. You can't be an asshole and a bad vet. You can't be both of those things, but you can certainly be an asshole and a good vet. So that was, that's endemic. There's just toxic people everywhere. So I promised to the team, I will do the hard thing, no matter how bad it sucks. And from there, we started fostering that culture, right? That it was always in back of mind, like, we need to make sure that we have a great culture. And I didn't know if I could build a great culture from scratch. I knew I couldn't take a mediocre culture and make it great. I had tried that before in other vet clinics, but so I didn't even have an option. I had to build one from scratch, and I didn't know if I could, but now I can tell you today that we have an exceptional culture. And from there, what did I not expect, to answer your question? I didn't expect how good it would be. I didn't expect that they would then distill down our core strategy, and they would distill down our mission, and they would name it, and they would name themselves the same name. So much like the veggies have the veggies, my fennies are the fennies, right? And everything they do is fenny. And I don't know if, veg talks this way, but if we do a work interview with somebody, a working interview, I just ask my team, how were they? And they just answer, they were fenny, or they weren't fenny. It encompasses everything. They ask themselves when they're presented with a challenge or a question within the practice, what's the fenny way to do this? What's the fenny answer? What's the fenny way to treat my colleague? What's the fenny way to treat this customer? They even utilize it for, like, if I sent them out to get toilet paper, they would know what the fenny toilet paper looks like. One ply is not fenny. It's the most, like, that I didn't expect. I knew the importance of mission, which I think is very underestimated within our profession. We put mission statements on our websites and nobody ever looks at it again. And what people actually don't realize is that your mission statement and your core strategies are the answer to every question you'll ever be presented. Period. Full stop. But I didn't expect my team to boil it down to a singular word that completely encompasses that mission and those core strategies.
I love that. And giving them the freedom and flexibility. It's not like you came in and said, hey, I have the world solved. Here's all the answers. I know best. This is what I'm working towards. This is what we're working on.
Animal clinic. I was embarrassed to tell the world this for 2 years. I've never been in a small animal clinic in my life. The first time I walked into one was Fen Vet 1. I took one step in, and now I had been in my first small animal clinic. I know nothing. This should not be me. I'm a cow vet from northern Alberta. I grew up on a farm. Like, I was a cow vet for a decade. It should not be me sitting here. I literally know nothing in terms of what's going on. But what I do know is I'm super passionate about veterinary medicine, right? And surround yourself with a great team, have a crystal clear mission, crystal clear strategy. They do it, right? I don't hire anybody. They hire everybody. I present them with people. I say, here's this working interview. They hire them. I don't interfere at all.
One thing that I think it might have been it was one of the first few touch points of when I knew who you were, was when you open sourced basically your business plan. You said, hey, I'm posting this out here, use it, check it out. I've shared it with veterinarians that I've known. Hey, take a look at this. I don't know if you've seen it. I think that's awesome. It's amazing. It's super beneficial. And I'm sure it's inspiring as well. What's been the feedback? Have you had people just randomly ping you that you've never met that said, hey, this has been super helpful, or any stories?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, all over the place. Like, it is now the backbone resource for de novo. And like, It's also interesting to see, because sometimes people don't create a copy of it, right? They don't make their own copy and then modify it. So then all of a sudden I get I go to open up my Google Docs, and somebody has like edited it and they have like their full business plan. It's hilarious. So then I'll make another copy and put it out on the internet. But yeah, it's been spectacular. And I'm sort of this beacon. I get phone calls all day, every day from people wanting to do de novos. And that makes me really, really optimistic about the future of veterinary medicine. So I know there's lots of entrepreneurial veterinarians looking to do de novos. I put it out because that's not the hard part. I wasted way too much time and put in way too much effort and had no idea and was frustrated with the lack of resources that existed within our space. There's no example of one, right? That's really hard if you've never made a business plan before, right? And putting together the spreadsheets that I have, like utilizing that business plan. Well, I did it at AHA, right? Like I had a 3-hour talk in AHA, and in the last hour, we built a vet clinic from scratch. Like, you should be able to do your business plan in an hour. If it's really like the mission and the strategy are the important parts, and it's got the built-in financial planner. So you just like plug in how many, what you think your market penetration is going to be, and how many clients you think you're going to have, and your average client transactions, and what your square footage is, and the cost of the build out, and it calculates the rest. Like, it should only take you an hour to do a business plan. That's the easy part. And that's why I put it out there, because like the hard part is when you open the door for the first time. The hard part is the next 10 years. The easy part is opening. Anybody can build a vet clinic.
Do you think, going back to what you talked about earlier, where you see consolidators, they're going to optimize, they're going to close locations. To me, they're not selling it back to the younger veterinarian, and it's a de novo that's going to fill the void if someone's from that area, which is great, right? Candidly, they can then build what they have envisioned to fill that gap. But you made another comment that, younger veterinarians maybe aren't as keen on practice ownership. Do you think they're not keen on buying someone else's version of practice ownership, or they're not as keen on just owning in general?
Yeah, so it's both. It's currently both. Because of this, what I call the orphan generation, right? So when I graduated veterinary school, you would go out into a practice, and the majority of those veterinarians would be 60-year-old plus, usually white males. And they would see a young, keen veterinarian come into their practice, and they would mentor them into ownership, right? They would talk for 2 years about how great it is being a practice owner, and that you could do this. Like, I believe in you. I'll help you. I'll support you. I'll be around here for 5 more years after you buy this practice. Like, and that's how succession happened. And that was a great way. Like, that really worked. But then when we saw the multiples skyrocket, those old white boys stopped talking about practice ownership to the associates, because obviously they weren't going to sell to the associates. Not when you're getting a 16x multiple or 20x multiple. And even if your practice wasn't one of those that was ever going to sell, it completely tainted the market in terms of perceived practice value, right? So you've got the 3 and 4 doctor practice that is high revenue, that sells for a 20 multiple. And then his classmate down the road running a 1 or 2 doctor practice sees the big cash out, hears about the multiple. It's his buddy, right? He told him what he got. And now he thinks his 1 or 2 doctor practice should be worth X millions of dollars, when it actually never was. But they thought that they were going to be able to cash out on this golden goose opportunity. The golden goose opportunity is now over. The ability to sell your practice for those kinds of multiples is done. And nobody's talking to the next generation about the benefits of practice ownership. I think it's amazing. Practice ownership is spectacular. It gives you an incredible financial freedom. It sets you up with amazing equity. I think we're going to get there again. I think, we're going to start talking about it again, but I think it's too late for those 1 and 2 doctor practices that are owned by 65-year-old veterinarians. I think that there isn't enough time to mentor the next phase of veterinarians. So it's not just whether or not it's to buy a practice or to do a de novo. I think they really most of them still aren't interested because nobody's talked about it yet, to them specifically.
Yeah. And this might be a question. Yeah. This might be a question that is helpful for some folks. You don't have to answer it if you don't want. But how do you think about equity in your practice, knowing kind of your long-term goals versus taking cash flow and free cash flow out to the personal side? Do you have any sort of structure on that, things that have evolved? Again, as much detail or as little as you want to provide, I think would be interesting for some folks.
Yeah. So in terms of like my current actions to date, I have not paid myself yet. I've been running Fen Vet for 3 years, and I've put every red cent we've ever made back into this to fund growth, right? I've got a dream. I want there to be more Fen Vets. I want there to be more Fennies, more veterinary professionals working in more Fen Vets. And this is what I do. I'm not practicing, right? I take a handful of appointments a week. All my efforts are focused on optimization, growing our practices, finding the next location, figuring out the plan of like how we're going to do this. So, that's very much my take on it, is like, I want to grow this thing because I believe in it. It's what I want to do. I built this to be my dream career for the next 35 years. That was my goal when I had that phase where I wasn't working, to create literally the career of my dreams, not the job of my dreams. What was I going to do, right? How do I think about equity? I would say across the board, my vets want nothing to do with equity. They don't want to pay $200,000 or $700,000 to have a percentage of a practice. That's not at all interesting to them. That was, I think there's still some that are out there that would be interested in that. That's how Dr. Dan built, 18 practices, right? He would find the hotshot veterinarian working as an associate. He would essentially give them 20% equity, and he would build a practice around them. That's not what I'm doing, but I'm very interested and will do an ESOP program, right? So I'm going to peel out 30% of Fen Vet, and that's going to go to my employees. There will be a vesting period throughout that. So obviously, like once you mature that vesting period at say 5 years, then you have equity in Fen. I don't need 100% of Fen, right? I want my team to have it. What's a long-term goal? I would love nothing more that when I die, Fen Vet is 100% ESOP. What my goal with ESOP though is that a career technologist, so this is not ESOP just for the veterinarians. This is ESOP across the board, whether you're a client care coordinator or you work on the phone team. I want a career technologist to spend 20 years with Fen Vet and walk away with more value than she would have or he would have if I was doing a 401k matching program, right? I want them to walk out with $300,000 or $400,000 in their jeans from giving me their life, essentially.
I love that. Yeah, ESOPs are, I think, really interesting. It hasn't been used much in veterinary medicine at all. So it'll be fun to watch that develop over time and see. But it does help with, this idea of the retention of like key talent. Like, hey, I care about you, but I also actually do something about it. I just tell you, because it's funny. I see lots of people that are critical on social media when, you see big corporations talk about how much they love their team and all the stuff they do. And it's like, yeah, but why do you do X, Y, Z, right? Why do you do, ABC, which your veterinarians and your teams hate, but yet you put out these nice posts and say all the right things. But it's like, actions speak louder than words. And that's a big one. So
one of the things, let's talk about this. I was asked by a founder of one of these, de novo groups that are in the US, like how do I motivate veterinarians to produce more? This is what he wanted to know. Like, how do you motivate a team? Seems like production only goes so far. I don't pay production. I do not pay. I have no sign-on bonus. I do no bonuses. I do no production, nothing. They want to come work for me. Here's the straight salary. We're going to talk about production, right? We're going to talk about efficiencies. We're going to talk about optimization. You're going to see your production, right? But it's not at all correlated in terms of what you're going to hire on at. So how do you incentivize? I told you I want more Fen Vets, right? I want to build another location. We've got, these 2 locations here. I want to build a 3rd in the city. How do I do that? Well, I need cash flow. How do I get cash flow? I need my vets to make money. How do I incentivize them to make money in order to open another vet clinic? What possible reason would they have to support us doing another vet clinic? And they want to. And the reason is an intrinsic motivation because they truly want other veterinary professionals to work in a Fen Vet and be as happy as they are. How incredible is that? That's culture, right? They have no financial incentive whatsoever me opening up another companion animal practice, but they support me wholeheartedly because they want their friend to work there. They want their team member that worked at, a VCA center to work there. They truly want that. That's incredible.
How much do you share or talk about like kind of the financial aspects and health of a Fen Vet location with the team so that they know like, hey, this is what we're working towards? Like, do you share that? Is
Everything.
it all okay?
100% transparent. They have access.
I assumed based on your answer, but I just wanted to clarify.
Everybody can look at everybody's production. Everybody, there's anxiety around that for them, right? There's massive anxiety when it comes to launching a new location and them sharing in that journey with me as the practice owner, right? Launching a new location is scary. Never knowing what your cash flow is going to be the next month, having this burn rate, watching money just flood out of your bank account. But they're there, right? And they know that I'm genuinely making decisions to support and sustain what we're doing when we make decisions. Like, okay, we're going to have to adjust this. We're going to have to adjust that. We're going to have to, not hire that next veterinarian if we have one leave. What can we do with 3 vets on the floor instead of 4? They're all very supportive of that because of those reasons, because of that transparency, and because they want more Fen Vets to exist. One of the greatest recruiting has been them, right? We've got a waiting list of 28 veterinarians for 2 hospitals, local veterinarians. That's not like across all the vets that are in the US that say they want to work at a Fen Vet. That's just local vets. That came from my team, right? They tell me they go and do a locum shift. I don't stop my vets from working locum shifts, right? If they want to go pick up a locum shift, not a problem. I don't have any non-competes. I have no restrictions. It's a job. It's not slavery. So they'll go pick up locum shifts, and other veterinarians will sit next to them and they'll say like, is it really as great as it seems? And they're like, yeah, you should apply. That has been fantastic.
So you posted on LinkedIn about a year ago. You said, today at Fen Vet, we implemented unlimited CE funds for veterinary technologists. I'll let you know how it works out. So I was just curious, how's it going?
We haven't rescinded it yet. I haven't
it's still active.
Just pick up a CE event in South Africa or anything like that. What I wanted to do, and the basis of that was I had a veterinary technologist who hated doing dentals. Okay. She just hated them. She had an ER background, super amazing personality, hated dentals, and was vocal about it. So I said, okay, I want you to go to dental CE. She's like, well, like, where? I'm like, you're gonna go to Dr. Brett CE in Orlando. And she's like, how much is that? I'm like, don't worry about it. We're going to fix this problem. We're going to send you to the best CE possible. And you're going to learn. The reason you don't like to do dentals is you're not good at them. So we're going to make you good at them, because when you're good at something, you usually like doing them. So we send her down. She goes to the course. She comes back. She loves doing dentals. And I was like, okay, well, why did that work? Well, first off, it was access to CE that she would have never been able to access with traditional technologist benefits, right? They get, industry standard. It's bullshit. Like, they don't get much. It's like, $500 a year or even $1,000 a year. Like, what's that going to get you? It's not going to get you a flight. Technologists are paid less, so they don't have as much disposable income as veterinarians to invest in their continuing education. So you kind of have to like break that barrier for them. You have to provide essentially unlimited in order for them to actually do what continuing education is meant to do. Continuing education isn't this thing where we're just supposed to go through the motions and watch a few videos online on VetGirl, and then we send into our VMA that we did 20 hours of continuing education. Continuing education is supposed to make us better, right? It's supposed to make us better team members. It's supposed to make us more efficient and more effective and help pets. But how is a technologist across the industry actually supposed to be able to access that? They can't pay for even if they're well paid at $30 an hour for a technologist, which my tech starting wage is, life's expensive. A room at a Marriott costs $350, right? A good course is $1,000 or $2,000. So I needed to break down that barrier, and I saw the results, and the investment was like that technologist right now today is sitting downstairs and she's doing 2 dentals. She's doing 2 dentals this morning. Do we think she paid for herself? Did she pay for that CE? She paid for it today. And if I didn't take that step and invest in her, she probably would have left the clinic, right? She probably would have been like, I hate dental so much, I'm leaving. So it's worked good. I haven't had anybody abuse it. I've had them actually, what did it do? It allowed them to dream and actually pick CE that made them better technologists and not just checking the boxes.
What do you think, and as we kind of wrap up here at the end, and I know a lot of this has been kind of throughout the conversation, but is there a thought or belief or an area that you hold within veterinary medicine that's, non-consensus compared to your peers that maybe we haven't touched on yet?
I think, what I want to clarify is I think that being a vet is absolutely incredible. I think that, from the first second that I walked into a vet clinic when I was 16 years old and the smell of iodine and dog piss permeated my sinuses, I have forever been hooked on this profession. And as I get deeper and deeper into it, I'm just amazed with the opportunity, with the ability to dream and do. I view my DVM as literally a golden ticket. I have a DVM from an accredited veterinary college. I can literally go work in any country as a veterinarian, no questions asked, doing my dream job. I can open hospitals in the least regulated medical profession, right? Like, we're the darling of the healthcare professions. We've got so much ability to be entrepreneurs, to do things the way that we want. I couldn't imagine trying to run a human hospital. Could you imagine the regulations, the red tape, the bureaucracy? How preposterous is it that I don't have to ask anybody to open a clinic in downtown Calgary, that I can just do it? I couldn't do that with a human hospital. That would be preposterous. So the future is bright. I cannot wait to watch the next 2 years and 20 years and 60 years unfold. I hope I get 60 more years in this profession. It's the best. It's literally the best.
I usually wrap up with allowing a guest to ask me a question. I feel like part of me should just cut it there because that was a great kind of way to end it. But I did tease it out at the beginning when we chatted. So if you had something, I didn't want to ignore it and then go away. But is there anything, because I've asked you a ton of questions, this has been an absolute blast. Anything that you want to kind of shoot back my way from a question perspective?
I would like to know your reflection or perspective on the future, right? Like, where do you see this? Where do you see this going?
it sounds really cliche to be like, hey, what you just kind of went on your like little, 120 second, I'll call it a rant, but it was really good of just why veterinary medicine is awesome. I like the darling of the medical. Like that's great because everyone always has this attitude of like, oh, woe is me. I'm a veterinarian. Oh, woe is me. I don't make as much as my human health peers, student debt, this and that. It's like the options that you have and the flexibility you have as a veterinarian is like massively different than a lot of other medical professionals. The amount of breadth of what you can do within vet med, the specializations, the things that you can do is amazing. And that's not even practice ownership, because I think the ownership side of it is also really interesting. That's been kind of day one when I started the podcast in 2019, was trying to get people, hey, if I was a person that liked the medical side of things, which I don't think I would be a good veterinarian. I've sat through some surgeries and everything. So I'm like, not really my thing. I'll watch it, but I wouldn't want to be doing that. Right. Like it's not for me. This would be a profession just because of like, from a business perspective, I see it. And I think a lot of veterinarians don't see it. Like the opportunities are really good. Like the competition that you're up against, even if they're PE backed and they're all this, we talked about it. Like there are major issues with the models that they're trying to run, and the free money with super low interest rates, that world is over. That ship has sailed. So now it gets even better for you as a private owner or an individual that's not in a corporate entity. So like, I do think that the future is bright. I like the idea of grassroots. Like it's never going to be top down, and like what actually sticks. So like you can be someone within your local organized veterinary medicine, take a stand or have an opinion and just be like, hey, here, I can't change everything nationally, but here we can look at things differently. We can encourage young veterinarians instead of telling them, oh, I wouldn't go into veterinary medicine. Like, ugh, this is such a bad thing. I'm like, why do people do that? Right? Like that's just that negativity. It's not going to help. And so like the complaining to me is one of those things. Like there are legitimate issues in veterinary medicine like that can't be discounted, but you can't just complain and just chit and chat all the time about it. You got to do something. And so that's the way I look at it. Like it is super positive, and there are lots of really good things. It's just sometimes people, I think, just are too negative versus going out there and doing something about it.
I agree. I remember distinctly seeing people start talking about their vet school experience even before I was in vet school, right? This was like the dawn of Facebook. So it was the first time you kind of got to see like people's public thoughts. And I was shocked at how people were whining in vet school about like how hard it was, or the things they had to do, or when they get out into practice, the amount of negativity that I see of people just, they get out into practice, they're literally doing their dream job and they're just like, oh, woe is me. Right? That, oh, the life of a veterinarian, so hard. Like, it's almost like they're looking for that. Like they're seeking that like validation, but they don't recognize that it's just this like perpetuation of this negativity and this terrible culture that's permeated through the entire profession. And everybody has the ability to counteract that or to propagate it further. And I'm not seeing a lot of people that are coming out saying like, this is so amazing. 99% of the content that goes out there is usually like client bashing. You ever see me client bash? Never, right? Or profession bashing, right? Nothing that I said was profession bashing. When I tell you,
what's the intent with it, right? Like you can call out things. There's this idea of being, recently it was, there's this idea of being in a high truth, but also high grace environment, right? So like you can call out things that are wrong, but you can do it in the right spirit, right? It's not just saying like, I'm better than you.
Grace. Yeah. I'm not seeing grace. Sure, be all the high truth you want, but I'm not seeing grace either. I love corporate consolidation. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me personally. I couldn't imagine a better thing, because I would be absolutely screwed as an entrepreneurial veterinarian if all of the hospitals in my city were ran by entrepreneurial veterinarians. I wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah. And again, think of it as a gift versus like this overwhelming challenge, right? Lean into it. Any closing thoughts, places where people can find you if they don't know who you are from that standpoint? Obviously, I'll tag the Fen Vet business plan for those that are looking to do that as well.
Yeah, I just like to show the beauty of what we do, right? My social media approach is essentially showing a window into what Fen Vet is like, right? And that's even our Fen Vet social media. We don't do social media to attract clients. We're trying to tell a story for prospective employees so they can understand our story, right? They can feel us before they even come in the door. It's like this self-selection of people who want to come into the fold, right? I definitely want customers who are interested in Fen Vet to like get a feel for our spirit. But that's essentially all that I post is just like a behind the scenes of what I think is this amazing practice culture. And then on LinkedIn is usually where I get the most mouthy. So yeah, I'll just get into some sort of mood on my drive home and have to write something on LinkedIn that, I feel like needs to be said and talked about. Like, we have a leadership shortage. Where's all our leaders? I want our vet leaders back. Come out of retirement, right?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for the time. Really, really appreciate it. This was fantastic. And look forward to hearing how people enjoy it. And hopefully there's a lot of lessons that they can kind of pull away and implement. So thank you.
Well, thank you for shining such a great light on the profession. I have listened to a lot of your podcasts, and I appreciate the perspective. I love when non-veterinarians are so incredibly passionate about what we do, and when they are, they're extremely passionate. Right? I love it so much. So, thanks for telling our stories.
Yeah, thank you.
Recruiting team members in your veterinary practice has never been this hard. You can either bury your head in the sand and hope it goes away or adapt. Enter Guardian Vets. By leveraging best-in-class technology, you can empower your staff and reduce their workload. Help reduce burnout. You also provide a better experience for your clients and patients, which you want to do as you serve them. The solutions Guardian Vets offers includes after-hours triage, virtual CSRs, that know your team and processes, telemedicine, and so much more. Become the employer of choice in your area by offering the best tools to position your team for success. Whether you're starting a de novo, clinic, multi-doctor, or multi-location, Guardian Vets can help you be more efficient and effective. Go to the website, guardianvets.com, click the Get Started button, then let them know that I sent you, right? Let them know the Vet Success Podcast sent you. Get 50% off your first month. Don't let another quarter or year happen before you start making changes because you know you need to. So talk to the Guardian Vets team today and implement a new solution. Have you ever walked into a space and thought, wow, this place is beautiful? There's a reason for that. Architecture has this innate ability to impact emotions and perceptions. My friends at Apex Design Build bring beautiful and functional spaces for veterinarians nationwide. Apex is a fourth-generation family-run company that is fully integrated from the design, architecture, and construction process. They help you mitigate risk, eliminate surprises, save time, save money, and reduce your efforts. Sounds great. Check out their amazing work and have access to their square footage calculator to help you plan out your expansion or new build. Click the link in the show notes for the exclusive offer and learn more about Apex Design Build. Why do banks seem to always be impersonal, slow to answer questions, or give you the runaround when you need money for your dreams? Enter Panacea Financial. Panacea Financial is a nationwide digital bank built for doctors by doctors. Whether you're a veterinarian in training, practice owner, or aspire to be a practice owner someday, Panacea Financial is a bank designed specifically for you. It was started by two doctors who were frustrated working with banks and so started their own to serve their community. With common sense lending guidelines and fast decisioning, they've helped doctors all across the country start, grow, or acquire their dream practice. Looking to buy into a practice, Panacea helps doctors with practice buy-in loans, and they are funded in a matter of days. If you're ready to join the thousands of doctors nationwide who have decided to get independence from traditional banks, visit panaceafinancial.com today to see how you can get your dream practice started. Panacea Financial is a division of Primis, member FDIC. Finding a job or finding a veterinarian shouldn't be a waste of time. Enter an Offer First. Paul Diaz and team have created something really special with Offer First. Some of my favorite reasons are as follows. Candidates and employers will both have values aligned on the first step, not the last.
The sign-up process, quick and simple, no resume required. So if you're looking for a job but you aren't really sure, it's as easy as scrolling on Zillow for a home. And finally, if you have a great match, it's based on your each unique requirements, not random keywords. If you want to learn more, listen to episode 179 with Paul Diaz. We cover all of that. The other exclusive great thing that you're going to get from this ad read and from Paul is I convinced him to give an exclusive discount to listeners of this podcast. So for owners, you're getting a 20% discount on both the placement of any candidate, but also access to the platform. Use VSP if you go to Offer First, or the easiest way is a link in the show notes. So check it out. Associates, those looking for a job, same thing. Use the link in the show notes. Use VSP if you go directly to Offer First. But I will donate and Paul will donate to a veterinary nonprofit of your choosing. So each person that signs up gets a vote. Your votes actually count, which is incredible. And so I'll be reaching out. I will handle that. But there's going to be a donation made for any associate or any job seeker that adds on the platform. We want to make sure that not only does the platform help to make sure that you find a better fit, better culture, better role, but it's also doing good in veterinary medicine. Okay, so link in the show notes is going to take you to Offer First. It's going to automatically apply that, but also use code VSP if you go to Offer First directly. And Offer First is changing the game of veterinary recruiting. I want each and every one of you to benefit from it, so check them out today. All right, so there are a lot of great job postings that I want to get to. And so we're going to start off with Bayside Hospital for Animals. Great work-life balance in beautiful Fort Walton Beach, Florida. No weekends, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, no on-call or emergencies. It's an appointment only here. Currently a 2.5 doctor practice, new owner in 2021, bringing some fresh life into the hospital. The new owner had been there for 6 years prior working, so definitely understands the team, the processes, and the community. Lots of investment in people and new equipment. ProSal is the pay structure. Far too many benefits for me to list. Email BaysideVet251 at Yahoo or call 850-864-1857. Join a thriving, growing small animal practice in Vermont on the Quebec border. Full-time ideal, part-time is considered. The idea is to start with yes with the team, patients and clients, and outdoorsmen or outdoor woman's paradise while being able to practice high-quality medicine. Compensation is write your own structure within production capabilities. Literally, it is the owner wants to find the right person and is happy to negotiate, chat through, and find the right fit. If you want autonomy and a boss that enjoys teaching, reach out to Newport Veterinary Hospital. You can email newportveterinaryhospital@gmail.com. North Central Indiana, looking for an oasis in the chaos. You know, who isn't, right? Come join the amazing team at Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. They strive to foster a fun, fast-paced work environment while providing quality patient care. They utilize the support staff efficiently so that the doctor is available to practice medicine and do what you're trained to do in less time and paperwork, which is great. Lots of investment in new equipment and technology to support you, full-time or part-time available. Small animal and exotics are both seen there, so no ER, no on-call, no weekends, competitive salary with sign-on bonus offered, and far too many benefits to list. Go to Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. So type that in and you'll find the job posting there. Last but not least, join Watertown Animal Hospital. Personable, small animal veterinarian wanted for well-established current 5-doctor mixed animal practice in northern New York, which is an outdoors person's paradise. Again, 2 of those. So if you like the outdoors, you can look at Vermont or New York. They have plenty of support staff with 6 CSRs, 6 licensed technicians, 4 animal caretakers, 2 technical assistants, a hospital assistant, a practice manager, and a bookkeeper. Focuses on mentorship and investment on the people and the technology. That's been a strategic initiative by the leadership team. No on-call, 24-hour ER less than an hour away. Salary based on experience, but no less than $95,000. Can be straight salary, ProSal considered. Want to discuss that with the right person. Tons of benefits. Again, too much to list. Please reach out to WatertownPetCare.com for that option as well. So again, if you find a role or a job or talk to anyone and it helps you in any way, I would love to hear that feedback. So please reach out. Let me know what you're able to do. And I will continue to post these. So if you are an owner, reach out to me, let me know. And we'll go from there. And until I hit a capacity of I can't keep recording these, I want to let people know who are high quality owners around the country looking for great help. So with that, we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to today's show. The comments made on today's show should not be taken as investment, tax, or legal advice. All comments are for educational purposes only. You should talk to your professional team before implementing anything. If you want or need financial advice, my day job when not podcasting is helping veterinarians grow their net worth. Our team is taking new clients, and we are ready to talk to you at any stage of life. Come as you are. I always say bring the mess, right? Like if things are unorganized, that's okay. There's no prerequisites to become a client. Isaiah Douglas is a partner at Vincier Wealth Management. Isaiah is a registered investment advisor, registered with the SEC. The biggest compliment you can give me in the podcast is to share it with a friend. Reviews help the show get found, and Apple Podcast is the platform that is predominantly used for people listening to the show. If you have 3 minutes, love the show, head over to Apple Podcasts, give us an honest rating and review. It helps more people find the show. Also, the new YouTube channel is up, and I'd love to have you subscribe. Vainly, I want 100 subscribers at least. Lots more, obviously, right? But I get a vanity URL if we get to 100. That would be great. It makes it easier to find the YouTube channel as well. For all of today's links, information, head over to the veterinariansuccesspodcast.com. There you can subscribe to your favorite podcasting platform. It'll be a link to that YouTube channel I just talked about. You won't miss any other episodes, whether you listen on Spotify, whether you have some other ancillary podcast platform. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. It certainly does help. I appreciate it. Finally, if you want more information, insights, want your voice to be heard, want to share ideas for content, say, hey, Isaiah, I want you to have this guest. I want you to talk about this topic. Go over to the Facebook group. So you can search for the Veterinarian Success Podcast on Facebook or head over to veterinariansuccesspodcast.com, scroll to the bottom about your host, click on the Facebook icon, and that'll get you in the group. But thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me to be able to see the podcast grow and continue to impact people. So with that, until next time, we'll chat soon.